So Skip, from that Big Tent event, the Big Tent meeting that you talked about, where you can bring in the diversity of people from different backgrounds and meet them with love, you talked about having deeper opportunities to be able to engage people and draw them deeper into the faith, devotion, and youth ministry. What do those deeper opportunities look like?
Yeah, well, here's the way we thought about it. And again, there's nothing original about this with our youth group. You would find a similar model with Duffy Robbins and his model of the funnel, drawing young people in at a outreach level and then drawing them down into deeper and deeper connection. You'd see it in Doug Field's purpose-driven youth ministry, a baseball diamond model where you're trying to move them around the diamond as they are willing to look for deeper experiences. The basic metaphor is something like this. Thomas Merton said, the real mystery in life is not the mystery of grace. The real mystery is the grace of desire. The real mystery is, why do some people hunger for God and why are some people complacent about God? That's the mystery. Who hungers for God? The grace of desire. Because if they hunger, they will seek. And if they seek, they will find. Well, our understanding is that God has distributed the grace of desire very widely and diversely. And it's not because any kids are better than any other kids. Think of their tiny little interest in coming into youth group, even just to check it out, as a glint of grace or a tiny ember of faith and desire. Our job is to accept that little glint, accept that little ember, and then puff on it, fan on it, facilitate relationship and community and programming so it can begin to heat up and glow and maybe burst into flame. But you can only do so much in that big tent of diverse experiences. So what you want to do is you want to create all these places for them to go, virtually all small relational groups, where if the ember lights up just enough, depending on the characteristics and interests of that child, they can then move to deeper waters or to a warmer glow. So for instance, what we did at our YG in New Canaan was the first big tent thing was come on Sunday nights, there's no expectations, no attendance, no requirements. We love you whenever you come up and we're going to love you unconditionally. But if you want to go on the mission trip, if you want to go on the ski trip, you know what? You're asking for a depth of experience. And you will not experience that depth unless you make a commitment, because it is kind of what you put into it, you get out of it. So we're not saying you have to come, but if you want to go on the mission trip, if you want to go on the ski trip, we're going to create some covenant events. Not an overwhelming number of events, but events that draw you into a small relational group, a team that you'll be with all year long and then work with on the mission trip. And in that small relational group, we're going to expect you to come to worship services in which the youth group and the mission trip is lit up or commissioned or welcome back, to rake and run programs where we're raking leaves for the older folks in our community and our church, to worship services where we're just going to experience worship together, to Vespers. Enough covenant events so that you know you have a commitment to this team in a small relational group. We also offer these places where individual and maybe a little idiosyncratic interests can find a place to go. So we've got a Quest for the Spirit on Thursday nights. Meditation, the great spiritual exercise traditions of the church. Those young people who are interested in prayer and meditation can find their way into a small group on Thursday night in addition to Sunday night. We kind of thought, who's going to come to that? How many overstressed, over-committed high school kids are going to not only come on Sunday night, but then they're going to come on Thursday night just to pray, to meditate? We had years when we had 60 kids in that program. And certainly the average was 25 to 35 kids a year. Well, then we lit up a Quest for Truth on Tuesday night. There got to be some kids here who are interested in the theological questions, the appropriation of social justice questions by the Christian church and theologians, the questions of Bible study. Yeah, they did. And they started to come out on Tuesday night, as well as Thursday night, as well as Sunday night. But they had a small relational group on those Tuesday nights. And we created an opportunity for the Quest for Truth and Quest for Spirit to have their own mission trip at the end of the year, in addition to the large mission trip of the larger group. Then we created senior leadership. Seniors have been in youth group for 3 years. It's getting a little stale. They've already been on a couple of mission trips. But if you convert the senior experience from not what am I going to get out of it, but how can I give back? And then that power of Philippians 2:5 through 11, where seeming to go down and pouring yourself out, you actually experience the greatest life of all. Well, senior leaders started small, but it built over the years. Until last year, we had 57 senior leaders in our group. But they are their own small group, deeply relational, and coming in on another night to help lead the youth group. We created a YG Pictures, kids who are interested in making movies and video ways of expressing their faith. and then also of capturing the mission trip on video and then making a movie for the rest of the mission trip. Kids would come in for YG Pictures. I remember when my youth minister said, you know, we can get these kids to help lead the middle school youth group. And I said, they don't have time for that. We had eventually so many high school kids who found what an amazing experience that was to lead the middle school, that we had to have applications and essays for admission because we could only accept 12 of them. But they then became a deeply committed small group of ministering to the middle school. So of course we created a group of leaders who would minister to the 5th and 6th graders, then a group of leaders who would minister to the 3rd and 4th graders, then a group of leaders who would help be teen assistants at the church school, then a group of leaders that would help with the junior choirs. That's kind of that ultimate expression of spiritual development where you're willing not only to receive, but then to mentor and articulate your faith for others. But again, we call that big tent moving the conveyor belt. Duffy Robbins calls that the funnel. Doug Fields calls that the baseball diamond. But the key to your answer is not only having that diversity on Sunday night, but deeper small group experiences where as the embers start to glow, the young people can find where they're called.